Oi, what's the best game where you get to eat pie? What's the best game where you play a dead guy? Aye? You'll find out in VG247's podcast. Here, what's the best game where you swing from a rope? And what's the best game where you batter the Pope? Assassin's Creed 2. Like I said, you will find out in this your podcast. Hello and welcome to VG247's Best Games Ever podcast, where we attempt to find the best game within a very specific category. For example, this week we're looking for the best use of a mega popular license. Did me and Tom collude on this so we could cram Football Manager into it again? Because, you know, what is the most mega popular license out there apart from football, right? Mega popular licenses, gaming is riddled with them. We've got examples from Star Wars, Star Trek, which is better, FIFA. All I can think of right now is Star Wars and FIFA, but I'm sure there's other examples. Not going to let Tom go first this week because last week it turned out to be a really bad omen for the recording. So we're going to keep him last. And I think I want to go first to Alex. What have you got for this topic?
I think there can only be one answer, really. Although it's a very me answer. The irony is, it's a game series that I don't love all that much. Find it a bit twee and a bit annoying. But you know, there is no doubt that in terms of a unique and unusual use of the biggest stable of IP in the world, of all the ways that these characters and stuff have appeared in games, this is the most unique and interesting, and no one could have seen it coming at the time that it was made. And that, of course, is Kingdom Hearts. The story behind Kingdom Hearts' development is sort of wild in the sense that you imagine in the late 90s, everyone's looking at Mario 64, and the story goes that two of the biggest people at Square were talking about Mario 64 and sort of lamenting that the only way you can really make a game like that and be mega successful was if you had a super powerful character behind it that fitted it, and they felt like they didn't have that within Square. And the example they gave while they were just chatting amongst themselves was you could do that with Disney's. Only Disney could rival a Mario game, I think was the concept that they were thinking. At that time, Square and Disney shared an office building in Japan. And literally, this guy, Shinji Hashimoto, who's extremely high up in Square, he legitimately was in the elevator with a Disney executive, and in the time of the lift journey, he pitched this idea, they talked about it, and they said, this sounds like a great idea, let's do it. And that was the genesis of this. It wasn't like, obviously there would have been really long negotiations afterwards, but I love that the genesis was legitimately just two guys in a lift and going, you know, it'd be cool if and the other guy going, you know, I also think that's a good idea, let me take it upstairs. And that was it.
That's incredible.
And then, you know, so the idea of you have a kid-friendly action game where you go to different worlds, but instead of that being, here's the starter level, here's the snow level, here's the lava level, as it was in Mario 64, all those worlds are different, familiar worlds from IP. And that's obviously, you know, that first Kingdom Hearts game, you have Alice in Wonderland and The Lion King and Tarzan, and Peter Pan. So they hit a lot of the greatest hits. I'm specifically picking the first Kingdom Hearts game because I feel like the deeper in the series has gone, the more it's become more interested in its own lore than the interesting just visiting Disney World and having fun bit.
It's disappeared up its own boss.
Up its own arsehole, yeah. I mean, that's always been my issue. Yeah, every time.
At this point, it's basically got, like, you know, they're humming Bob Dylan songs now, aren't they?
I was glad to see, you know, Kingdom Hearts 4, they finished their trilogy, they finished a lot of their storylines. They've obviously got some threads to pick up, but my hope is they can sort of get back a little bit to that with Kingdom Hearts 4. And my secondary hope is, obviously, that first trailer for the game is basically set in a fictionalized version of the real world, in a fictionalized version of Tokyo. And I sort of really hope that Sora learns that all his friends that he's made are fictional constructs in this world. That would be extremely meta and extremely cool. But I really just, you know, that first game, like I say, I'm not the hugest fan of Kingdom Hearts as a series.
What if it turns into Yakuza, except you're Donald Duck?
I mean, that would also be great.
That would be incredible. I'd play that.
But just the concept of here's an action game that's also a little bit of an RPG with Final Fantasy elements, but also is really an action game where your party members are Donald and Goofy, and then you get joined by other characters, and then your summons aren't like, Ifrit or Odin, they're Dumbo and Tinkerbell. I think it's such a wonderful use of an art, because there's plenty in games. You could answer this and you could say, because when you first said this was a topic, I was like, my mind went to what's the best Star Wars game, and I was like, well, I really like Knights of the Old Republic or Shadows of the Empire, because Star Wars it's the single IP with the most video games. I learned the other week when someone was talking about Jedi.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
Right. Well, that makes sense, yeah, because there's hundreds of them, but yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, you could do that. But I just kept coming back around to this, because I think it's, in addition to having some of, if not the biggest IP in the world, I think for this topic, it sort of hits all the buttons, in the sense that it's multiple IPs. It uses them all really interestingly, not just here's an adaptation of a film, or here's an original story in the same universe and the same, like, this is a weird and wonderful lore where it all sort of fits together. And again, this has sort of gone away a little bit, but I respected in the first game their sort of commitment, and in the second game to some degree. And it still to be fair, it still happens in all the games, but in the first, it's at its most pure, where they try to respect the storylines of the original films. They try to do it in such a way where it's like, a lot of the visits of Sora, Donald, and Goofy sort of happen in between film events, or before or after.
I think the problem with this choice, before you carry on, Jim, is that the first game is just a bit rubbish. And I was quite surprised when you were talking about how it can only be one choice. I was convinced you were going to go with a game that has a licensed watch in it. I thought it was just it was obvious to me that you're going to pick something with a watch.
And I don't think many games have licensed watches. Like GoldenEye, it looks like the Seamaster, but it isn't actually.
Is that the reason you didn't pick a watch game? There's no licenses. Okay, I see. But I think Kingdom Hearts is I think Kingdom Hearts as a franchise, I think it gets better and then maybe a bit worse. But then the first game I found just too awkward. So awkward game to play.
Can I just sort of stop everyone for a second? Why does Tom Ori know so much about Kingdom Hearts?
I've played every game ever made, Jim. I've said this before.
Kingdom Hearts 2 is surely when a game hits its stride.
It is when it hits its stride, but the first game is a game of its time. It's an early 2000s. It's a 2002 Japanese action RPG. Which is at that time, Japan was extremely proficient at making turn-based RPGs and extremely proficient at making pure action games, but really struggled whenever they had to combine the two. And so it is a little bit finicky. The HD remaster's better, but it is a little bit finicky compared to the original, compared to the later games. Sorry, but for me, it's still my favourite one in the series. There's something about the energy of it which is just very, very lovely.
I really do like the idea of it. Is it a better use of Disney's IP than Disney Dreamlight Valley?
1000%.
Oh yeah, that's just Disney thrown together, right?
Yeah,
we've like the crossover different worlds. It works. I feel like this is much better, but the first game unfortunately isn't very good. So
we published an incredible article about Disney Dreamlight Valley, which you should check out. About essentially how absurd it is that you've got like villains from the Disney films sort of living in a gated community with their victims, and it's sort of fine
with the people they abused,
and
enslaved.
It's sort of like Harold Shipman's there, the Golden Girls are right next door. It's that it's that sort of thing.
We should point out before anyone contacts us, we know those people are not in Dreamlight Valley.
Is that our first podcast mention of Harold Shipman?
Surely not. But okay, let's move on very quickly from Harold Shipman. Connor, what have you got for us?
I was going to do Knights of the Old Republic because I also thought that was a good suggestion, but I've changed my mind.
You can't change your mind.
You changed it on this just literally while we were recording.
Inspired by last podcast and Kelsey's.
I can't believe you're doing this to me. I can't believe you're doing this to me.
My pick is Bid for Power.
What?
Bid for Power was a Quake 3 mod announced in November 1999, and the idea for Bid for Power is that the fans who wanted to make a authentic, high-octane action game using the Dragon Ball Z IP. So you would have these
This
really
is so
high.
Connor. This is the most Connor thing I've ever heard.
It's got some edge to it as well. Wait, hang on now. Okay, right. So you're flying around all over the place. You're shooting key blasts at each other. You're instant transmissioning all over the place, and it's all aerial combat. It's quite fast-paced and exciting. People back then, I assume, I was like 5, were really hyped for it. However, in 2002, Bid for Power would be cease and desisted, which is very bad. The project was put on hold, and this dream of a high-octane Dragon Ball Z game was seemingly killed. Years later, Bid for Power would release with totally original characters, original landscapes, original everything, sort of fresh game, no copyright issues at all, put out in the world. That's all right, I guess. It plays the same, but it's not nearly as exciting. However, like a month or two later, on the internet, in the dark corners of forums and such, a zip file would be released. And, oh, look, if you unpackage all of this, all of the original Dragon Ball assets are put into the game. So you've got this really early, really fast, really rad-looking Dragon Ball game that kind of captures the best bits of the anime, the best bits of the IP in general. Now, the official Dragon Ball games would later, try and capture this with the Budokai games, really fast, shooting laser beams and big, whatever. But, as this like really original early days sort of attempt to nail that in a Quake-free mod of all things, I think that's really rad.
I feel like, Connor, you failed at the most basic level here in that you've picked a game that doesn't have a license.
It does. Bid for Power is a licensed game. Wait. It uses the license the best. It's a great use of the license.
It uses the license just illegally.
Just illegally. That fits in the topic.
What is the exact wording of the topic?
I don't know. What is it? Let's have a look. Let's
have a look.
Break this down right now.
Right, okay. We have to consult our legal team here.
Best use of a mega popular license is what I was DM'd on Slap.
Best use of, not best...
best use of a mega popular license. And
not,
these pioneers...
I'm sure they're going to be well happy about their best use when they get sued to oblivion.
They weren't sued. They put out a game that had none of the IP in it, and then just so happens, like a month later, that stuff just ended up online.
Yeah, there was just like a random zip file going about the dark web, which Connor just happened to be on the dark web to receive it.
But the reason why this is notable is because back then, before official games kind of nailed this and kind of captured on this idea of like getting these fights right, these people on the internet were just like, yeah, let's do it ourselves. And if you look at the footage now, sure, it's old and dated. Like this is from the early 2000s. It's a Quake 3 mod. They really do kind of, smash out of the park. You've got the speed of like Armored Core games of how fast you're turning and shooting in midair, and it's rad. Personally, I think it's really cool.
Are there games now that are better use of the Dragon Ball license?
Well, you could say like not in that genre. Like Dragon Ball FighterZ is really good, but that's a fighting game, and I get ripped to pieces for it.
That's the single best Dragon Ball game. That's the single best Dragon Ball game. It's got to be.
It's really good for sure. But like in terms of an early project, and also the story behind it's kind of sick. Like it's a mod that put out, and then they got DMCA'd, and then they managed to get around it.
I do like this idea that it is a stealth Dragon Ball Z mod, and it's like a clandestine sort of like, oh yeah, we've totally taken all the Dragon Ball Z stuff out of it, but my cousin Franco, who is me with a mustache, published a zip file.
How did these files get? Oh, who knows? I mean, we have no idea.
Connor, right? Just as an example, right?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of videos of like mods for Resident Evil 4 remake already.
Right.
And there's one where they mod in Mario and Luigi, right?
Sure.
So is that the best use of a Mario license?
Well, no, because putting Mario and Luigi in Resident Evil doesn't kind of capture what makes Mario like Super Mario.
I don't know, they look quite authentic to me.
I mean, they look authentic visually, but in Bid for Power, when you're flying around doing all this cool Dragon Ball stuff, like I think they nailed it. And in context, if we're picking out Kingdom Hearts 1 in context for how great it kind of captured the Disney IP back when it first released, right? You've got to keep in mind, this is like the early 2000s before Dragon Ball was kind of had a million games out, or like with all these fancy like graphics and cinematics and stuff. This was kind of one of the pioneers at trying to nail that feel, and I think it's a really great story about some people who kind of subverted the lore for Dragon Ball.
It's convinced me. I think that's a pretty good pitch actually for a bid for power. No. I'm not. I'm never going to play it, but like, I think you can definitely make the argument that it's a better use of a license than just sticking Mario into Resident Evil or whatever.
Well, it's why I wanted to pick it over like Star Wars, because I'm like Alex said, like there's a million Star Wars games that use that IP really.
I would say that with Knights of the Old Republic, you would have been. I was like. You made my life a lot harder now that you haven't picked Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, because Knights of the Republic is kind of bland, right? As a pick. It's a great game, but
I don't think it's bland, and I think it's probably the most interesting of the Star Wars picks, because what that does with the Star Wars IP is it takes the core elements, and deliberately, it was the first one really to set itself so far away from the films and the established universe that they could sort of play with the concepts but do what they wanted. And I think the proof that is of how smart that was is in the fact that now that is what Disney are doing, like with High Republic and all that sort of stuff.
For sure. But I mean, in my mind, you say that and you're totally right. But I when I was filming Knights of the Old Republic, I was like, well, Knights of the Old Republic 2 is even more interesting and does cooler stuff. The problem, of course, of that is that to get the best experience of that game, you have to download like a completed version mod, because that game was rushed out, and kind of there's like sorts of tragic, backstory behind how that game was kind of made
really
in development.
borked.
Yeah. Alex is right. I just thought Bid for Power. I thought you like Crimes. Personally, Jim, I thought that would kind of get your taste.
I am a fan of
crime.
Crime, yeah. So,
do you want to hear my pick then, quickly? So, I've just changed it on the fly, and I've gone for the Thomas the Tank Engine mod in Skyrim. It's the most authentic Thomas the Tank experience I've ever seen in a video game.
Though? But is it? Let's look up like Thomas the Tank Engine
comes in.
It can't be authentic though, Tom, because there is no municipal rail network.
That's not really my pick,
Skyrim.
Jim. Calm down. Right. Is it my go?
Yeah, okay.
Right, okay,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, why not?
JD Wales Premier, JD Wales North, JD Wales South, JD FAW Welsh Cup and Nathaniel MG Cup, MLS, K-League, SPFL, FC Porto, SL Benfica Sporting CP, PLO BP, Extrax Larsa, Northern Ireland Football League, KNVB, the Dutch National League. This one I really can't pronounce very well. It's the Optibet Versliga, maybe. Loads of teams in Italy, Atlanta, Fiorentina, that's more than that. Gibraltar National League, the DFB, Bundesliga, LFP, the EFL, includes Sky Bet Championship, Sky Bet League 1, Sky Bet League 2, Carabao Cup, Papa John's Trophy.
Wait.
Papa John's Trophy, yes.
Yeah. How big of a circuit is that? Like,
it's quite a big. It's a big thing for
also,
the
did
EFL.
Did you see Gibraltar National League?
Yeah, Gibraltar National League. Yeah.
Is there enough people in Gibraltar to constitute like a football team, let alone a league?
There is the 3F Superliga, Nordic Bet, Liga 2,
right?
GNK, Dynamo Zagreb, Canadian Premier League, the Jupiler Pro League, Challenger Pro League. It's Suzu UTA League Men.
In 1999, no one died.
UEFA Champions League, UEFA Europa League, UEFA Europa Conference League, UEFA Super Cup, UEFA Youth League.
If you mention more, do you summon like the ghost of Pele back? You like
that's a bit tasteless, isn't it? What you just said then. It's a bit too recent, that, isn't it?
When did
bring that up, Connor.
When did he die?
Unbelievable. Let's move on from Connor's tasteless joke.
Yeah.
But keep reading the list.
Guess what all those licenses are from, Jim? You guess.
FIFA.
FIFA.
No, not FIFA. Not FIFA. I bet FIFA probably doesn't even have all those. I don't know. I've not looked. It's Football Manager 2023. It's the latest version of Football Manager.
Yeah.
It's got all those incredible licenses used perfectly. You didn't even know some of these licenses existed or things existed, and they've licensed them just because they have to be authentic, right? They have to have it all, or as much as they can.
I reckon they could have skipped over the Gibraltar National League.
It's not like going.
And the
It's
Papa
not like
John's
going.
trophy.
Oh. Let's just put Winnie the Pooh in the game. Done. Right?
They didn't say that.
They've gone Gibraltar. Let's do it because someone will care about
Gibraltar
it.
is the Winnie the Pooh of Europe. They do
Peter
say
Pan.
that.
Oh, it's Peter Pan. Wow, Peter Pan's there. Excellent, amazing. No, they've gone much more in depth than that. They've thought about it. What are the diehards going to care about? Yeah, there you go.
I'm just looking up the Papa
It's
John's
very thorough.
trophy.
It's real, Connor.
So this
Don't
is
worry
this
about
No,
is,
it is, it is.
right. So mega popular license, Tom.
it. Yeah.
How many of them?
Champions League. There you go.
Okay.
It's right at the
Right.
top.
All right. Okay. So you're not submitting the Gibraltar National League.
I mean, I'm splitting them all as a group.
Okay. What is this license? What is it called? Like
It's
as a
called
football.
the license to football. It's like it's a spin off of the James Bond license.
Yeah. We're basically submitting that Football Manager has licensed football in its entirety, global football,
more or less
the entire
as
institution
much as it can.
of
And it's really
football
done a
as
good
it
job at
stands.
it.
Yeah.
Really good job. I think
Is
that's
every
the key
single
thing.
player in it?
Did in Kingdom Hearts? Did they go? Let's get everything. No, they just picked a few easy targets, right? I've
Yeah,
forgotten what Connor picked already, so I can't argue against that because it's gone out of my mind what he said.
I thought
But-
the podcast was about quality over like quantity, right?
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
done it really well. I said that, Connor.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
listen back, it's a really
re-
good use of the license.
check the tape.
I tuned out like after 4.
Yeah, well, Connor had his sort of Dragon Ball Z mod of Quake 3.
Yeah, I realised what I did was very boring, right? And as
Yeah.
a choice, a football license is boring. But you picked the topic, Jim, right? I had to go with what I was given.
Yeah.
And I thought reading all the licenses out would add a certain flair.
There was definitely flair.
It
Oh,
was
yeah.
no, I think it was fucking Ric Flair. I think it was good. I'm still stuck on Gibraltar National League. Can someone look up Gibraltar National League and how many teams are in it? I'm fascinated by this. There's about how many people are on Gibraltar? Like 10,000 people? It can't be like barely enough to constitute like a small sort of mid-sized
11 teams.
11 teams.
Bruno's Magpies, College 1975, Europa FC, Europa Point, Glacis United, the Lincoln Red Imps, Lions Gibraltar, Lynx, Manchester 62, Mons Calp, and St. Joseph's.
I'm just
there you
fascinated by that.
It was only founded in 2019, and the first season had no
Oh, wow.
champion as the season was declared null and void because of COVID.
Oh, damn.
This is incredible. So it's only existed since 2019.
And it's already in Football Manager.
It's already
already
in
in.
Football Man. I mean, that I'm impressed by that. I mean, they've taken this very seriously.
And the Lincoln Red Imps have won every year so far.
Every single one, yeah.
Have they got like one professional football player who moved to Gibraltar?
Their stadium,
Ronaldo's probably there now. I mean,
their
who knows?
stadium has a capacity of 2,000.
Wow,
Wow,
that's
yeah.
incredible. What's the population of Gibraltar? Is it 30,000, something like that? It's not even a landmass. It's it's a bit of like Spain, right?
Oh, it seems like the Gibraltar Premier Division existed.
Yeah.
So this new league that was founded in 2019 was a replacement for a league that was founded in 1905.
Wow.
I'm gobsmacked by all of this. Population 32,669, and has a football league with 11 teams in it. I find it absolutely extraordinary. Does that mean basically statistically, everyone in Gibraltar must know someone who plays in the
Well,
football
I just
league?
love that, like, for instance, Bruno's Magpies was formed in 2013 as a group of friends who drank at Bruno's Bar, a bar in Gibraltar. So it's
Brilliant.
just a bunch of lads who get pissed, basically. And they
That's kind of-
decided they wanted to have a Sunday league.
I kind
Sounds-
of love that.
This sounds wonderful. This sounds incredible. I told Alice the other day that like I had this thing about how I really wanted to go to Gibraltar, just because I'm really fascinated by the idea of it. Like, what is it? Like, why have
By a
you got
little
this
piece of Britain in the middle of Spain. Well, not the
why
middle.
have you got this? Yeah, why have you got this like England rump like on the tip of Spain? Why is it being allowed? What? How do these people live? How do they get like telly? Like what is this? And Alice was just like you can't possibly want to go to Gibraltar.
I just love how they have their own parliament and everything.
Yeah.
But that parliament only has like 15 MPs or something because it's so small a population.
Little toy town parliament, little toy town.
It might be
football league.
it might be brilliant. Like, obviously, it sounds a bit otherworldly, but like, it sounds.
It's fascinating to me because like the Mediterranean is like the one of the most beautiful and cultured parts of the world, and there's this colony of England.
And what I love is that we had it all with Brexit, right? Where Spain were like, well, if you're exiting the EU, we want Gibraltar back. But the people who live there actually like the arrangement. Well, it's the same thing as the Falklands problem, right? It's colonialism, and then it's all so entrenched that if you actually ask people in the Falklands what they want to do, they want to stay in as part of Great Britain.
Yeah. So it's all a big mess that we've created.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I really love this. I'm gonna play the jingle now. That means I have to pick something. I find this extraordinary. I'm just gonna put everyone out of their misery straight away. I'm gonna give it to Tom this week.
I wish I hadn't said about the size of the league.
I'm gonna give it to Tom this week because what an incredibly thorough and passionate interpretation of their remit. Like, Football Manager could absolutely have not bothered including 11 guys from a pub in Gibraltar, like possibly the worst piece of land in the Mediterranean that exists. And but it's in there. It's in Football Manager because Football Manager is thorough, and it's made by people who really, really care about the topic at hand, and that is simulating football
exactly
as it exists. Yeah,
exactly my point, and why I thought that the lazy Disney stuff was just not going to win. And Connor's sort of, I don't know what his effort, what he was trying to achieve with his not a licensed game thing, but it didn't work, did it?
That wasn't the podcast topic. That wasn't.
Connor's.
I feel like what happened is Tom listed out like all these leagues, and then Jim happens to love Gibraltar, and we just picked it out.
Excuse me, I don't love Gibraltar, right?
You just love colonialism.
I just want to go.
And then
there's that Bond film that starts in Gibraltar. And it's just like it's just a Jeep rolling down a hill, and it's the most low budget thing imaginable. It's like a Doctor Who episode.
I mean, you can't really get mad at this episode, can you? Like,
I feel like Tom has won that purely by the chance, because he might not have even got to Gibraltar before Connor had made a tasteless joke and threw him off his flow. So, I think that there's been a real conjoining of the spheres here that's led to a Tom win. So yeah, is this the second win for Football Manager?
It's the second one, yeah.
Yeah.
My goal is to get more wins for Football Manager than Connor has at all.
I think you might have already done it. How many wins?
No,
do you
it's
have?
not true, Connor. You've got like 3 wins. You've got 3 or 4.
He's got like 3 wins on Football Manager. I think we might be tied up.
No, he's got 2 wins on Football Manager.
For what top? Wait, for what? I swear he's won like 3.
Someone can tell us. I'm not going to look into it.
Tell us in the
Football
comments
Manager
below.
might have won, but not in this streak. So there might technically be 3 Football Manager wins.
That's the most tragic sort of thing ever.
Yeah, the real thing that Kingdom Hearts has got going for it is that Donald Duck's in it, and I believe his characterization in that game is as the comic relief, right?
It's also probably like the best game of all 3.
He's moody and shitty, and my favourite thing about Donald Duck is in Kingdom Hearts 3, a very key plot element is something called the power of waking.
Yeah.
And when Donald Duck says that, it sounds like something else entirely. And he says it a lot. He says it often in Kingdom Hearts 3, and every time he says it, I'm laughing to myself.
Do you think they know exactly what they're doing?
I don't. I feel like the people in Japan don't. The people localizing it absolutely do.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's probably very, very deliberate on some level, I imagine. All right. Okay. Lovely. Well, I'm happy. I'm absolutely overjoyed to give Football Manager the win for best use of a mega popular license, even though if we have to kind of fudge it and submit the license as being football, global football as it exists in 2023, which isn't really a license, is it, Tom?
It's close enough.
But Connor said at the start of this podcast that we can just do whatever we want. So
Yeah.
Shot yourself in the foot there, Connor.
I don't know how to win this podcast.
That was the first time you shot yourself in the foot. The second time you shot yourself in the foot was when you didn't pick Knights of the Old Republic like you told me you were going to.
It wouldn't have won anyway.
It 100% would have. I was going to pick that.
No, you
I was going to pick that. And when you moved away from it,
weren't.
I was going to pick that because it's my favorite Star Wars game. You were going to pick
that before he mentioned Gibraltar, and then your entire brain flipped, and you're like, "Oh, I know who's going to win. It's going to be Football Manager."
I would have 100% picked Knights of the Old Republic for that. You done yourself out of a win, and now you're sulking about it.
I just don't believe you. I just don't believe you.
All right, okay. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Please give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. I think Connor might leave a review.
I feel like that room is getting darker, by the way. Like,
the more times I don't win, it's just gonna get
Like I can barely make out any definition on you now. You're just like a shadow.
All right, Tom's ecstatic. You can tell. I just saw a wee smile there. So, thank you very much. Please leave comments. Tweet us at VG247. Leave a comment on YouTube. Suggest topics. Tell us what you would have picked. Tell us if I'm wrong for picking Tom. Tell us if Alex was robbed or Connor was robbed. There's always a X was robbed contingent whenever one of these goes out, and they're usually wrong, but that's by the by. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. Let's say goodbye because I never know how to end these things. All right, bye.
See ya.